you were talking about?
Yeah, the Japanese made these balloons and launched them, and the idea was to cause, mayhem and and everything like that. And I forget what they called them.
And I can't think. I know the name, and I can't think of what they're called.
Yeah, but I know one of them actually landed in Southern Oregon and killed some people.
It did. It was a picnicking, a family that was having a picnic.
Yeah,
and it came down and.
These things were, they actually were. They would go up, and they would go to a certain level, and they would come back down and from just losing gas. And
they had a pressure valve, basically.
They had an altimeter on them. At a certain point, they would drop a sandbag to make them go back up again. And when they came back down again, they'd drop another one. They keep doing that. And then eventually, at a certain point, when they're out of sandbags, they start dropping incendiaries. And then the last thing is just a big bomb, an anti-personnel bomb.
Yeah.
And so the incendiaries were supposed to start house fires, forest fires, whatever. And then the big bomb was just going to land on the ground, and somebody will find it. It'll blow their arms off or kill them or whatever.
War is a messy business.
I know. Yeah. So they weren't that effective, but we managed to keep it a complete secret. So none of these incidents were publicized. And so it actually had it worked for us because Japanese eventually stopped doing it because they weren't hearing anything about it. So they assumed none of them were actually getting here or doing anything. And so they figured it was a waste of time, and so they stopped doing it.
That was good on our part.
I know, smart
Good
move.
job, Secret Service.
Yeah, good job, you guys.
Well, let's move into the next theory.
You were trying to talk about.
I was. But, and again, I'm going to preface this with the same thing that I finished the last one on, which is this does not explain what we picked up on radar. But the next theory is that what they saw was clouds.
Well,
Yeah, could have been.
maybe.
It's actually very plausible if you think about it, because if there is clouds and there's a lot of smoke from all of this ordnance going off in the air, and lights, and you're trying to focus on it, and the clouds are shifting around and the smoke is drifting, it's going to look like there's some kind of shape moving in there.
I don't know if you've ever seen a spotlight shining on clouds. I'm sure you have, like on just low deck light. It looks like a flying saucer.
Yeah,
zipping around.
That's exactly right. If you see, I always see car dealerships doing it, or sports events.
Yeah.
Where they have the big swooping spotlights, and if it's cloudy out, you can just see this roving disc in the sky.
Kind of fun. I like it.
Yeah.
And I always shoot at those.
But if you also look at the photos, again, that one iconic photo, you can see that the beams of light all kind of hit, and then there's a little bit of diffused light coming off of the opposite end of where each beam should be. There's not a lot of it, but that would indicate that it was hitting some kind of cloud, and some of it was leaking through the edges, but that was it.
Or that it was reflecting off of a metallic object.
Or that it was reflecting, and
it could have been reflecting off their shields too.
It could have been. Actually, what's funny? If you bring that up, I wasn't going to talk about this, but we're going to go back to your UFO friends. No, I'm not saying that word. There is one person who I've got to give him props for taking and tracking the vectors of each of those lights.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And they have one. There's one particular light that should be in a straight line, and then it seems to jog off about 20 degrees after it hits that center mass.
and it's a little weird. Although, let's be fair, clouds can do that.
They can.
Well, yeah, and it's but at the same time, also you got to remember that this negative has been so intensely, what's the word I'm thinking about, debased. God knows.
Overanalyzed.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean is like the original negative was so intensely touched up that who knows? Maybe somebody decided to add an extra little streak in there, and it's
well,
and
if he's looking at the unaltered version, which I think that this person was, because I remember seeing the side by sides of the original and the unaltered. It looks a little weird, but I don't know that it means that it's reflecting. If that was going to happen to one beam, you think it would happen to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their light bending shields might have saved the day.
Yeah. Anyway.
What do I know?
No, you don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Last theory, which kind of relates to what Joe and I were talking about the balloon bombs, is the official War Department statement. If you remember, the official War Department statement said they were commercial planes operated by an enemy from secret fields in California or Mexico, or were light planes launched from Japanese submarines. Okay, Japanese submarines were able to and had been known to launch small light aircraft.
Yeah.
Not to the level of like the Surcouf that we talked about, but these are
it's
very
a-
small light, but it's possible.
It's a similar thing, though. The whole idea is to put them up to go around looking for targets, to
Right.
do reconnaissance.
But it is possible.
It's possible.
It is possible, but I think we kind of already ran that into the ground is, well, what did they get out of it?
Nothing.
Yeah. What did they get out of it they couldn't get out of their spies on the ground?
And
Yeah.
where are they? We pumped a crap ton of ordnance into the air, and there's all these fragments going around. You think we would have got something.
Yeah, probably.
And we got nothing.
Yeah.
So I think
I
that
kinda
that
got
was
it.
just kind of a save face. But I looked at it, I was like, well, I guess it is plausible that it could have been some sort of enemy craft.
Vaguely, yeah.
But we never heard any mention of enemy airfields in use on the continent or in the continental United States or in Mexico. We never heard of any of that. So it doesn't seem to have a lot of basis or a lot of footing.
Yeah,
A
I agree.
little shaky to
I
me.
agree with that, yeah.
Pretty much. And again, they would have found some wreckage. So,
Yeah.
I think that we can rule that out.
Yeah.
It could have been just like some people out just flying around, no Japanese at all. Of course, we would have found their wreckage too. So
Again,
we'll
yeah,
rule that out.
that therein lies the rub. Is well, where are they? And
Yeah.
why didn't they say, hi, U.S. military, you tried to shoot me out of the air, stupid. You would think that somebody would have said something. I mean, maybe they were too embarrassed when they realized the hubbub that they created by taking their unauthorized nighttime flight, but
Yeah. They were in bed, yeah.
It was
Okay.
Amelia Earhart.
No, yeah. All right, I'm going to solve this mystery.
well, we are out of theories, so please.
Yeah, okay.
What is your solution, Mr.
All
Joe?
right. So there were 6 anti-aircraft batteries around the town, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and five of the 6 opened fire and wasted 1,440 rounds.
Right.
Right. Those rounds were manufactured by Acme Corporation.
Okay.
Acme Corporation bribed the gunners of 5 of those stations to waste 1,400 plus rounds so that they could make some money.
Oh.
So it was Acme.
Oh!
Always Acme.
It's always Acme.
Freaking
So,
Darn Roadrunner.
yeah, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that actually would be kind of a sweet deal, I mean, if you could bribe people to just waste lots of rounds so the government has to keep coming back and buying more from you.
It would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, as much as it sounds like I'm following the company line, I really, after doing the research, I think it was the weather balloons.
I agree
Because they're
with
the only
that.
things that could have sustained the amount of fire and stayed in the air for a bit of time before coming down, and then nobody would have thought twice when they saw them on the ground.
Well, I'll give that one a close second. I'm going to go with Acme Company Perfidy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Devin?
Oh, so you put me in a hard spot because most of me wants to say
Beam ship.
Pleiadians?
definitely the Pleiadians or plebeians or
Pleiadians.
Pleiadians or however you say it.
Paladins?
Or Pleiadians.
Pleiadians, be the plebes. No, but I mean, I also want to be rational and say, weather balloons makes a lot of sense. Yes, it doesn't really explain, why an hour before the radar caught something, but so maybe the Japanese did send a recon thing, and that freaked us out a little bit, and they were just reconning to see how close they could get before they
Did something and
were
just-
seen or anything. I don't know.
They might have actually been, and if it was a Japanese aircraft, say launched from a submarine, they might have just been exploring our radar defenses.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean,
So they
yeah.
launch a plane, they fly until they detect radar emissions, and it's like, oh, we've been picked up. They turn around
Great.
and go back.
Turn around and go back and
they
then
just wanna
sink
get them out.
down.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it could have been, or it could have been just a random occurrence too.
Yeah, it
Well,
It could have been even one of our planes.
And there is some evidence that adds validity to that, because when the object, remember I said it was off the coast and then it came inland and then it disappeared as it hit the foothills outside of the, or just inland from the coast. So it disappeared. So it could have been, like you're saying, it may have been a plane. Oh, we've been caught, duck down below where we should be visible, and turn around and head home.
Yeah.
That is completely possible.
So I guess I'm torn between knowing that aliens exist and this was probably their first attempt at contact.
Which we screwed up.
Yeah, which
we were the worst
epically
house
ruined.
guests ever.
And now they're arming for bear.
Yeah. Which,
Man, these human beings are man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
We're
man.
going away, man. That's how aliens talk. I know you know that as a sentient robot that they
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is going a little too far. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all of the links about this particular episode will be on the website. As always, that website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. When you're on the website, you can listen to the episodes, and you can always go ahead and leave us a comment. We've gotten a couple of those recently, which is good to have back. You can go ahead and find us on iTunes. If you're on iTunes, go ahead, take the time to subscribe and leave us a rating. We've been getting more of those, which is good.
And comments too, yeah.
Yeah, the comments and the ratings, those are starting to roll in, which is fun times. Now, if you know that an episode should have come out, but you haven't had a chance to go to iTunes and you're out and about, you can just use Stitcher to stream the episode
Nice.
from any mobile device, whatever it may be. And last but not least, we are, of course, on Facebook, so go ahead and find us, friend us. We've got the group. If you want to join the group and chat with folks, please have at it. And, of course, last but not least, you can always
Second last to not least.
anyway, you can send us an email. That email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. So if you've got ideas of things you'd like us to look into or just general comments, stuff like that, feel free to send them.
Yeah, maybe somebody that you know has disappeared, like, been abducted by UFOs, and you want us to find them.
Yeah.
We can be ufologists.
If you're from a Pleiadian beam ship, please write us an email.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
But we actually do have an email that we were going to read this week. And Joe,
one or two. The mailbag, as always, is overbrimming with letters. So we just randomly pick a few out to read. So this guy is from a guy named Joe Blank. I'm not going to give you his last name. Hey, Thinking Sideways. Love your show. I work at a big windowless warehouse all alone and spend nearly all of my time listening to podcasts and audiobooks on a variety of subjects. But I have always had a love of the mysterious and creepy events in history, which we're all about.
Yep.
In high school on the East Coast, I was a big Art Bell fan. Art Bell and us. Hey.
Well, yeah, we just talked about him last week.
Yeah.
I know. And had a tape recorder set to a timer so I could record shows while I slept as he was not on until 1 a.m. EST. I wish there was a podcast in the same vein, and then I found Thinking Sideways a little before Christmas and binge listened to every episode. The show is clever, and I appreciate how careful you are to articulate all explanations equally. I recommended the show to my friend who listens to the podcast other than WTF, and now he listens too. Nice work. So thanks a lot, Joe. We appreciate that you appreciate us, and keep those cards and letters rolling in. And
We like
suggestions,
that you
too.
like us.
And I really hope that we make life in that. It's a windowless warehouse, I believe.
Yeah.
A little better. Because I've worked in a cube village before, which was in the
Cubicle
center
farm?
in the center of a giant building, and so I could see 80, 90 yards away was a window with sunlight, so I can kind of relate.
Yeah.
Which is still fun. So
Yeah, I know.
I hope things are going okay.
So we have another piece of listener mail that I wanted to read.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
More fan mail for Devin.
Yeah, it's some fan mail for Devin. Actually, it's since we already talked about my mom tonight, we're going to talk about my dad. It's from him. I didn't know he was listening to the show, but apparently he is. And he just sent us an email, and it just says, see, and this link. And it's a link to Wine Spectator that is about how well champagne ages in reference to the Baltic Sea anomaly.
Oh yeah, we were wondering about why they were going after the old champagne
yeah,
in the
because we were
bottom.
like, it was probably gross. Apparently, it ages totally fine. Thanks, Dad.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't think it was like a UFO. But
Yeah. Well, thanks, Devin's dad. Now I know.
Yeah, now we know.
Good to know.
There was actually a legitimate reason for them to be going after that champagne.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
I really love the way your dad told you he's listening to the show.
That was great.
Quite awesome.
I
Yep.
hope you're enjoying the show, Devin's dad.
Dad.
All right, gang. Well, that's all we've got for this week. So we will be chatting with you next week. Have a good one.
Next time, we're going to solve another one. See you then.
Ufologists. Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by the dingo that might have eaten a baby. Instead, it's brought to you by CrimeCon. That's Friday, June 9th through Sunday, June 11th, 2017 in Indianapolis. We're going to be there. Lots of other people are going to be there. Canine search dogs are going to be there. You might be able to pet them. It's possible. For tickets or more information, you can go to crimecon.com. And when you're purchasing your tickets, if you use the promo code Sideways20, you'll get 20% off your tickets. So that's crimecon.com, Sideways20. We'll see you there.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
Uproot the aliens. You must unlearn what you have learned. I don't know.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hi there, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined as always by
Steve.
and
Devin.
exactly Devin. Yeah,
How do
and
you spell that? Lots of
an I.
Cevyizk.
Is there an apostrophe in
W
there?
apostrophe
There you go.
LYEN.
Sweet.
Okay. All right, yeah.
That's
The
why
N is
that's why
silent.
autocorrect is always messing it up.
Yeah.
I got it now. Okay.
All right. Well, back to the important part of the mystery, which is
How
the
Devin
mystery.
spells her name?
Yeah, no. Well, that's important, but we can
No.
talk about that on Facebook too.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is there's this strange geographical patch of area in the northeastern United States where people just vanish.
Dun dun dun.
Exactly. Some people call it the Bennington Triangle. Although that was actually kind of a recent appellation. I think that happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
Somebody actually tagged it as the Bennington Triangle, which is long after people stopped disappearing there, actually. But, and by the way, a shout out to Nicole. Hi, Nicole, because she suggested this one.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah.
And by the way, technically, I think people are still being said to disappear in this triangle.
Well,
I think
yeah.
the most recent one I saw was 2011.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
That 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was actually from, like, clear across the state over in, like, Brattleboro or somewhere like that, right?
Listen, you can't confine the boundaries of this triangle just this one geographic area.
Yeah, sorry, you kind of, like, and there's another
You
person.
can't handle the geography.
Okay, I gotta be more fluid in my thinking. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah, there's actually there's 5 classic disappearances that always get lumped in with these, and one of these is actually kind of another one is actually kind of far away too.
Yeah.
But oh well, we'll talk about that later.
Let's deal with it here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start this off kind of randomly. We'll start with the most fascinating one because this was the disappearance of James Edward Tedford, who vanished off a bus.
Edward Tedford.
Yeah, Ed Ted.
Sorry.
I know. At least it's not Edward Tedford. Yeah. But and there's a serial killer whose name was Edward Edwards. There's Edward W. Edwards, which I thought was kind of weird, unless his middle name was maybe Ward.
I think I worked with a guy whose name was Edward Edwards.
Might have been the same guy.
Maybe.
Hopefully
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, but yeah.
Sorry. So Ed Ted.
Oh, yeah. So James Ed Ted, he vanished off a bus somewhere between St. Albans, Vermont and Bennington, Vermont. Geographically speaking, they are at the north and south ends of the states, respectively.
What?
Yeah. I'll give you a quick background on James Tedford. He was born, it's believed, around 1884, and about the time he disappeared, he would have been in his late 60s. He had actually been conscripted, apparently, for World War II.
You've done like 2 different tours. Does that sound right to
Something
you?
like that, yeah. He, I don't imagine they had him out there, like, in the infantry or anything because of his age. But
Yeah.
they conscripted a lot of people that were, like, well past the standard military age in World War II. But he was married to a much younger woman, and apparently she vanished. When he came back from the war, she was gone.
Literally half his age.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And so
He was 56.
Yeah, and so...
And she was 28. I remember that when she disappeared. Quote unquote, disappeared.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite so mysterious. She just found somebody else, and that was that. So, but so he decided to check himself into like an old soldier's home in Bennington, Vermont, which he probably shouldn't have done in retrospect.
Home of the Apple Barn.
Yeah, was it? Is it really?
Yeah, but it's fine. Let's keep going.
I did not know that. Yeah, Bennington actually, I believe, is like like the burial place of Robert Frost, isn't it?
Maybe.
I think it is. Yeah.
No, that's me.
There's a little more history there than there is, say, here in Portland. But anyway, he had family in St. Albans, and considering the time of the year, he was up there in late November. I'm assuming it was for Thanksgiving.
The holidays would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, and then got on this bus in St. Albans, and if he had disappeared in St. Albans, it would not have been a surprise. It's, of course, up there near the Kanuckastani border. You know our neighbors to the north, the Kanuckistan. And in those days, nomadic bands of fierce Kanucky tribesmen were often crossing the border and carrying helpless Americans off into bondage to be slaves or concubines or valets or whatever. And then after the U.S.-Canada War of 1956, we installed dense shrubbery on our side of the border, and that pretty much solved the problem. Yeah, thank God.
So back to reality.
But he didn't disappear in St. Albans. He disappeared way further south. What happened is sometime not long before December 1st, 1949, he boarded that bus in St. Albans and headed back to Bennington. Bus went south on Highway 7. Which I believe is now Highway 7A on the maps. If you look at it on Google, it looks like the old highway is now 7A, and then the new highway is 7 now.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. They do that all the time.
Oh yeah. There's just ones like this where there's like old patches of the old one. That some of it goes over the old one, and then they sort of branch off from one another. But normally this was about an 8-hour trip, and I heard it was longer, this particular one, because there was snow.
Yeah, I think it was delayed by 6 or 8 hours.
Yeah, which would make for a tedious bus trip.
Yeah.
But witnesses did see James Tedford board the bus in St. Albans, and witnesses on the bus, including, I believe, the driver, saw him on the bus at their last stop, which I'm guessing was Manchester.
Second to last stop?
I thought it was the last stop. Well, I guess it would be the second to last.
Second to last
the last
stop.
stop before Bennington.
Correct.
Yeah,
second to last stop.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to assume that was Manchester, which is about 20 miles north of Bennington. I don't really know that for 100%, but let's just assume for the sake of assuming that it was Manchester.
Okay.
So his fellow passengers see him on the bus in Manchester, but then the bus arrives in Bennington, and Tedford was gone. His luggage was still on the bus.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. What time? What do we have times on this?
Just wait.
No.
Just let it go.
Okay, sorry.
Just let it go, Devin.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay.
But anyway, his luggage was on the bus, and there was also an open bus timetable sitting on the seat next to where he'd been sitting. But that was it. He was gone. Nobody saw him leave the bus. I saw on it wasn't Reddit. It was a similar kind of website. I saw somebody theorized that he wanted to go off and start a new life. And so when he got to Bennington, he just slid down and hid underneath his seat. Which I thought was one
like
of the
a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Those, even in the old days, I doubt that they were that roomy underneath there.
No.
Well, but even still, like that's not the first place a bus driver's gonna look.
Well,
I'll just peek under the seats, at least to see if he left anything.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, but so it's
Maybe he was
that's a
little.
silly
Maybe he
theory.
was small.
That could have been. People back in those days were a lot
smaller.
Yeah,
It's true.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I find that hard to believe. But anyway, so he vanished from a moving bus.
In thin air.
Yeah, apparently, zip. Yeah, teleported away by the aliens. His family reported him missing to the police on December 1st. And of course, there was a search. There were lots of newspaper articles about it. But James Tedford never showed up again, and they never found him. They never found his body. That was it, into thin air. So that was one of the more notable disappearances in the Bennington Triangle. So this guy just, it is a strange story because we're used to these stories about some guy who wandered off into the woods and is never seen again. Well, that happens, right?
Right.
You get eaten by bears or something.
Yeah.
But disappearing off a bus, traveling down a highway, you can understand why this story has been so popular with the UFO crowd, right?
Well, yeah, I have so many questions. So many questions.
We'll save that for theories, I think.
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay. The ufologist in me is not happy about this.
You don't like this one?
No, the ufologist in me is not happy that we're putting off talking about this.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about the next one.
Okay, we will. So we will talk about the aliens teleporting him off the bus here in a little bit. But he wasn't the first or the last person to just vanish in the triangle. Exactly 3 years before, somebody else also disappeared.
Like
very
to the
close by.
day?
Well, I don't know. He was reported missing on December 1st, and this other person disappeared on December 1st. So Tedford...
That's on the day. I mean...
Yeah, it's pretty much on the day.
Well, his bus ride was on the 1st.
Oh, was it on the 1st?
His bus ride,
Was
it says
it?
right here, he was on a bus on
It says
the 1st of
sometime
December.
on or just before
I
December
said on or
1st.
before.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I fudged that a little bit in my script
Okay.
because, I wasn't really sure. It might have been the day before, but still close enough for government work, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
it'll
say
work.
They're
so.
not that far. I mean, Vermont's not giant.
No, it's a tiny little place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But okay, 3 years before, this person who disappeared actually did wander off into the woods. So okay, that's a little more like it. That's kind of more what we're used to. And her name was Paula Jean Weldon. She was 18, a student at Bennington College, which is in North Bennington. So why they don't call it North Bennington College, I don't quite get it. I mean, if it's going to be in North Bennington, it should be called North Bennington College, right? North Bennington is separate from Bennington, and it's not a neighborhood of Bennington. It's a whole other town.
It's
all
part
to
of the
itself.
greater Bennington area.
Yeah, it's probably part of the metro area or something like that, but it's definitely some green space in between the two. It's not a suburb, really. And it's also northwest of Bennington, so I don't know why it's not called Northwest Bennington.
Because it's north of Bennington.
It's north, but it's really northwest.
It's still north of it.
I think
You are going to get us so many angry emails from the people of that town.
Okay, sorry, Bennington, North End regular. But you don't need to be angry with us. Actually, I got on, by the way, just to give you guys a compliment, I got on Street View, of course, and did a little tour of Bennington and North Bennington, and they look like very pleasant little places. Did you guys go look?
I've been to Bennington, so.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
I liked it. It's actually got like my favorite diner in like ever. Like the best breakfast I've ever had at the Blue Ben. We used to drive when I lived in Massachusetts. We would drive up there like once a month to get. I mean, we would get in the car and drive for like 4 hours to get brunch at this place. So, I mean, it's cute. It's a nice little town.
College, the days when that was easy to do.
It was not college. It was work even.
Wow.
That's how much we liked it.
I did notice, my tolerance for long car drives was a lot higher when I was that age than it is now.
Yeah,
Definitely
for sure.
changed. That changes as you get a little older. And where are we at? Oh, yeah, let's
So
get
we're
back
done
to
talking
Paula.
about Bennington itself.
Yeah.
Let's talk about...
Let's talk about Paula Weldon.
Yes.
Yeah, so she was a sophomore at Bennington. She was from a well-off Connecticut family. And there didn't seem to be anything too dramatic going on in her life, but apparently she had a little bit of a falling out with her dad, and she didn't go home for Thanksgiving. I mentioned the family lived in Connecticut, so not that far away.
Yeah,
But
close by.
But at the same time, she was also 18, and so, you know what that's like. You're rebelling a little bit, and so nothing,
The littlest thing set you off.
Yeah.
Let's just say can.
It can, not necessarily. Yeah. There's also reports that she had been a little depressed in the days leading up to her disappearance. So that makes me believe that she skipped town and started a new life under the name Bernie Sanders.
Not really.
Well, maybe.
I think so.
I mean, it's kind of the right age frame,
Yeah.
but
It's about
there's
similar.
some things that make it not right. But
Yeah,
anyway,
like her name was
continue on.
Paula.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But Bernie or not, on the afternoon of Sunday, December 1st, 1946, Paula asked her roommate if she wanted to go for a hike. Her roommate, Hannibal Lecter.
No.
No. All right. Her roommate...
Not
said-
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, exactly. Said she was busy. She begged off. So Paula decided to go off on her own. And according to most reports, Paula really wanted to hike what's called the Long Trail, which is, it kind of runs to the east of Bennington, north and south. Goes like,
Goes from the bottom of the state to the top of the state.
essentially, yeah. So at the southern end of the trail, it crosses the border into Massachusetts, North Dakota, somewhere, I don't know, whatever's south of there. And then at the northern end, it stops at some really dense shrubbery. And there's...
Well, but it's part of the Appalachian Trail, right?
It is, I
Yeah.
believe, yeah. And so certainly if you look at it on Google, it says it alternates Long Trail, Appalachian Trail, Long Trail, Appalachian Trail. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. I'd like to hike it someday. Except I'd disappear, and I guess I can't do that. But anyway, Paula never could have made it to the border with Canada. so there's no reason to believe the Canadians nabbed her, and she wound up living the rest of her days in slavery.
Pumping gas.
Yeah, pumping gas or being somebody's valet or God knows what it is. But yeah, Bennington is in the southwest corner of the state, and it's a long, long way from Canada.
It's much closer to Massachusetts than it is Canada.
Oh yeah, much closer. So it's a stone's throw away from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a hard throw, but it's a stone's throw.
Just look it up on the map.
Yeah, it's around 2:30 p.m. And she headed south to Highway 67A, which sort of goes at that point of kind of east-west. And there she hitched a ride with a guy named Lewis Knapp, who drove her to Highway 9. Apparently, Highway 9 branches off Highway 67A.